The Belle Étoile restaurant was the pride of the city center, polished marble floors, heavy velvet curtains, and chandeliers that sparkled like diamonds. Every night, wealthy couples and businessmen filled its tables, savoring gourmet dishes while violin music drifted through the air. It was a place where appearances mattered, where dirt and hunger had no place. At least, that's what most people believed. Elaine tightened her apron and checked the time. It was barely 6 o'clock, and she was already exhausted. Between wiping tables, refilling glasses, and smiling at entitled customers, she rarely had a moment to breathe. But she never complained. Not once. Her mother's face floated into her mind, pale, tired, but always smiling when Elaine came home with her small paycheck. The money barely covered her medications, but it was enough to keep them going. Enough to hope. A sudden hush fell over the restaurant. Elaine turned toward the entrance and saw him. A man, standing uncertainly at the door. His coat was torn, stained at the sleeves. His hair was wild and dirty, and his boots left faint marks on the gleaming floor. Heads turned. A few customers wrinkled their noses and muttered under their breath. Mr. Leclerc, the owner, appeared like a wolf spotting a wounded lamb. "What is that doing here?" he snarled under his breath. Before he could intervene, Elaine slipped forward, heart pounding. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice steady. "Table for one?" The man blinked in surprise, then nodded shyly. Whispers followed them as Elaine led him to a table near the back. She ignored them. "Would you like a menu?" she asked kindly. He hesitated, looking around as if expecting someone to throw him out. "Yes, please." "Thank you, Mississippi." Elaine handed him the menu and stepped away, bracing herself for the storm she knew was coming. Sure enough, within minutes, Mr. Leclerc stomped over. "Elaine," he hissed, "what do you think you're doing?" "Serving a customer," she answered quietly. "Customer?" He scoffed. "That man's no customer. He's a contamination. He's ruining the atmosphere." Elaine kept her voice even. "He's hungry. He deserves to eat like anyone else." Leclerc glared at her but stormed off without another word, his anger simmering. The man ordered more food than Elaine had expected: soup, roast beef, extra bread, 2 slices of pie. She served him carefully, pretending not to notice how quickly and desperately he ate. When he finished, he wiped his mouth with a trembling hand and lowered his head. "Miss, I have to tell you something," he said, voice rough. "I have no money. I'm so sorry. I was just so hungry." Elaine's heart ached. "I didn't do this to be rewarded," she said gently. "I did it so you wouldn't get arrested. Right?" He looked up, eyes full of gratitude. "Miss, I understand. Thank you very much anyway. You know, there was a time when I had plenty. I owned a company once. I could walk into any restaurant and order the most expensive thing on the menu. But today, I can't even pay for a meal." Elaine shook her head sadly. "Wow, sir. What a situation. My pockets are empty now, but my stomach is full, thanks to you. And for today, that's enough." She smiled at him, feeling tears prick her eyes. "Take care, sir," she said softly. "Stay strong." As the man stood to leave, Mr. Leclerc reappeared, looming over them both. "This has to be a joke. You really are something else, Elaine," he sneered. "It would be shameless if I told my boss. He'd call the police. He'd call the police on you." The man held up a hand calmly. "Miss, calm down. There's no need for that. I can wash dishes, mop floors, whatever you want." But Leclerc wasn't interested. "Get out," he barked. "And you, Elaine, get back to work. And don't you ever let that kind of trash through my doors again." Elaine swallowed hard and nodded, heart breaking a little more with every step back to the kitchen. But deep inside, she knew she had done the right thing. Even if no one else saw it. Even if no one else cared. Kindness, she believed, mattered. And sometimes, kindness had a way of finding its way back. The night dragged on. Elaine scrubbed tables while the rich customers laughed, clinking their wine glasses. The food smells that once made her mouth water now just made her tired. In the kitchen, a bag of leftover bread and vegetables sat on the counter, ready for the trash. Elaine frowned. All this waste. She gathered the bag carefully and slipped toward the back door. Street dogs often waited outside, tails wagging hopefully. Just as she stepped out, she heard the sharp voice of Mr. Leclerc behind her. "Elaine," he barked. "Where do you think you're going with that?" She turned, guilt flashing across her face. "I was just going to feed the stray dogs, boss. The food's going to waste anyway." Leclerc's face turned red with anger. "I don't even let my employees take food home. And you think you can feed dogs with my leftovers? Absolutely not. Throw it in the trash." If the dogs want it, they can dig it out themselves. Elaine swallowed her frustration, forcing a polite nod. And another thing, Leclerc sneered, stepping closer, the women's bathroom is filthy. And so is the men's. Go clean them. Now. Elaine stared at him in disbelief. But boss, that's the janitor's job. Leclerc smirked. The job is whoever I say it is. You work here. You clean. Now move. For a moment, Elaine just stood there, clutching the bag of food. Patience, she told herself. You need this job. Your mother needs you. Without a word, she dropped the bag into the trash and grabbed a mop. Later, as she scrubbed the sticky tiles of the men's bathroom, she heard soft footsteps behind her. She turned and found the same man from earlier, the one she had fed, standing awkwardly in the doorway. Miss, he said, voice low. I thought we were the poor ones. But some people are poor in spirit. Elaine wiped a strand of hair from her sweaty forehead and forced a smile. That's true, sir. But I ask you not to pay attention to that, okay? The man stepped closer. Let me ask you something, he said. How can you accept your boss treating you like this? Humiliating you, yelling at you. Elaine leaned against the mop, her arms tired, her heart heavier. Unfortunately, sir, I don't have another option. I need this job. I need the money to help my mother. She can't afford her medications without me. That's why I put up with all this. The man nodded slowly, understanding in his eyes. I see, he said. It's complicated. But let me ask you one more thing. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in miracles? Elaine's smile softened. Yes, she said. Of course I do. It's God who gives me the strength to wake up every day and endure all of this. The man smiled back. Then trust him, he said. Because I believe, from the bottom of my heart, you're going to be a very prosperous person one day. Tears threatened at the corners of Elaine's eyes, but she blinked them back. Thank you, she whispered. I really needed to hear that today. The man tipped his head respectfully. We have to go now, Mississippi. But remember, keep trusting. Elaine nodded as he disappeared back into the night. The next afternoon, the sun hung low and lazy over the city. Business at La Belle Étoile was slow until a fancy black car pulled up outside. Elaine watched through the window as a well-dressed couple stepped out, looking every bit the part of wealthy customers. Maybe today will be better, she thought. Mr. Leclerc rushed to greet them, his best fake smile plastered on. Welcome to La Belle Étoile, he beamed. Come right in. Make yourselves at home. The man glanced around, then said casually, We'd like to sit in the VIP area. Of course, Leclerc said quickly. I'll personally attend to you. But the man shook his head. Actually, he said, pointing, we'd prefer that waitress over there. Leclerc blinked, stunned. You mean her? She's just a waitress. I'm the owner. No offense, but we prefer her, the man said firmly. Is that a problem? Face tight with anger, Leclerc turned and barked toward Elaine. Go on. They want you. Elaine smoothed her apron and walked over, heart pounding. Good afternoon, she said politely. Welcome. I hope you feel comfortable here today. The man and his companion smiled warmly. Thank you, miss, the man said. But unfortunately, we didn't come here to eat. Elaine blinked, confused. You didn't. The man chuckled. Don't you remember us? She stared closer and gasped. The man from yesterday. His sister, too. But today, dressed elegantly, almost unrecognizable. This has to be a joke. She whispered. No joke, the man said. We came to repay you for everything you did when you thought we had nothing. Elaine's knees almost gave out. What was happening? And what did they mean by repay? Elaine stared at the well-dressed man and woman in front of her, trying to find words. You were the ones from yesterday, she stammered. But how? The man smiled warmly. I know it's a lot to take in. Please, sit with us for a minute. Elaine glanced nervously over her shoulder. Mr. Leclerc was lurking near the bar, pretending not to watch but obviously eavesdropping. Still, her curiosity and a strange flutter of hope made her pull out a chair. I don't understand, she said softly. The man leaned forward, speaking gently. Yesterday, when you helped me, you didn't know who I was. You didn't ask for anything. You treated me like a human being when no one else would. That says more about you than you realize. Elaine's cheeks burned. I just did what anyone should do. He smiled sadly. Maybe, but not everyone would have. From her apron pocket, Elaine nervously twisted the end of her cleaning rag between her fingers. The woman next to him, his sister, leaned in. Miss, we didn't come here to cause trouble, she said. We came to thank you. My brother and I, we're not poor. In fact, we own a network of restaurants internationally. We were here visiting, scouting locations for a new business. Elaine's mouth fell open. You own restaurants? Yes, the man said. And yesterday, we wanted to see what kind of people we'd find working here in this city. We wanted to find someone special, someone honest, someone with heart. And you, his sister added, smiling, passed that test beautifully. Elaine shook her head in disbelief. But I don't understand. I don't deserve. The man reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope, placing it gently on the table in front of her. Here, he said. This is for you. Please accept it. Elaine hesitated. Is this money? Yes, he said firmly. It's a gift. A small token compared to what you deserve. Elaine's fingers trembled as she touched the envelope. But sir, just yesterday you had nothing. You were hungry. How is this possible? He chuckled softly. Yesterday was a disguise. A test. We needed to know who had true kindness, not because they wanted a reward, but because they believed in doing good. Elaine felt her throat tighten. Tears threatened again, but she forced a smile instead. You said yesterday that God would bless me somehow. The man nodded. And here it is. Before Elaine could respond, a furious voice sliced through the moment. What's going on here? Mr. Leclerc stormed over, face redder than a ripe tomato. Elaine stood quickly, clutching the envelope to her chest. Boss, First of all, Leclerc barked, in my restaurant, my employees don't accept money from customers unless they serve them properly. And second, you don't deserve that money, Elaine. The man rose slowly from his seat, towering over the boss. And you, sir, he said calmly, don't deserve an employee like her. Leclerc's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. My money is mine to give, the man continued. If I want to hand her 1,000 euros or 1,000,000, that's my choice, not yours. This is my establishment. Leclerc roared. I decide who gets what around here. You're lucky I don't throw you both out. Elaine's hands shook. The man smiled thinly. Don't worry. We won't be staying. He turned back to Elaine. My sister and I, we came not just to repay you. We also have a proposition. Elaine's eyes widened. We're opening a new restaurant here, part of our international network, he said. And we want you to be the manager. Elaine gasped. Me? But why me? The woman smiled warmly. Because you have what money can't buy. Heart, integrity, compassion. Things that are rare and valuable. Leclerc sputtered, practically hopping with rage. You can't just steal my employees, he shrieked. Elaine, you're under contract with me. You can't leave. Elaine turned, feeling a new kind of strength rising inside her. What contract? She said firmly. You never gave me anything but misery. Her voice was calm but sure. I'm leaving, she said. You can clean your own bathrooms and wipe your own tables. The restaurant went silent. Customers stared over their wine glasses. Waiters froze mid-step. Leclerc opened his mouth to shout, but no words came out. Elaine turned back to the man and woman, who were both smiling proudly. I would be honored to work for you, she said, her voice steady. Good, the man said. Because we believe in you. The woman laughed gently. And this, she said, tapping the envelope in Elaine's hands, is just the beginning. Elaine felt dizzy, overwhelmed by gratitude, shock, and hope. She wasn't dreaming. Kindness really did come back. Elaine stepped out of La Belle Étoile for the last time, her heart pounding against her ribs. The evening air felt different, lighter somehow, as if the city itself had sighed with her in relief. In her hand, she clutched the thick envelope, still too afraid to open it, still too overwhelmed to believe it was real. Behind her, Mr. Leclerc shouted something angry and desperate, but she didn't look back. For the first time in months, maybe years, Elaine walked forward without fear. The man and his sister led her to a waiting car. It wasn't just any car, it was sleek, black, polished so bright it caught the golden glow of the streetlights. Come on, the man said warmly. We have a lot to discuss. Elaine slid into the back seat, the leather smooth and cool under her hands. She had never been inside a car like this before. As the driver pulled away from the curb, the woman, Kayla, smiled at her. You know, Kayla said, my brother and I have traveled the world. We've built restaurants from New York to Paris. We've interviewed hundreds of people. But you, the man said, looking at Elaine kindly, you impressed us more than anyone. Elaine blushed and lowered her eyes. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Start by saying you'll accept our offer, Kayla said with a wink. That's a good start. Elaine smiled, a small, genuine smile she hadn't felt in far too long. I accept, she said quietly. The man clapped his hands together once, satisfied. Good. Tomorrow, We'll start preparing you. You'll have training, resources, a team to support you. You won't be thrown in alone. And don't worry, Kayla added. You don't need fancy degrees. You already have the most important skills: respect, empathy, and courage. Elaine nodded, blinking back sudden tears. Thank you, she whispered again. Thank you for believing in me. No, the man said. Thank you for reminding us that goodness still exists. Meanwhile, back inside La Belle Étoile, chaos brewed. Without Elaine, the restaurant quickly began to fall apart. Tables were left dirty. Orders were mixed up. Customers grew impatient and angry. Mr. Leclerc barked at the remaining waiters, but no one moved with the quiet efficiency Elaine had brought. No one cared the way she had. And worst of all, word of what had happened, about the wealthy guest choosing Elaine over the owner himself, spread quickly. The regulars began to disappear. The restaurant's reputation, once polished to perfection, started to crack. But Mr. Leclerc, stubborn and blind with pride, refused to see the real problem. He simply shouted louder, demanded more, and blamed everyone but himself. He had lost his best employee, and deep down, he knew it. But it was far too late. The next morning, Elaine woke up to sunlight pouring through her small apartment window. For once, the feeling wasn't dread. It was excitement. She got up, brushed her hair neatly, and put on her best blouse, the one she had saved for special occasions, that there had never really been one until now. When she arrived at the address the man had given her, she blinked in surprise. It was a brand new building in the nicest part of town. Tall windows, clean marble floors, and a sparkling gold sign over the door. Leclerc Restaurant, opening soon. Leclerc, the heart. Elaine's own heart fluttered. Kayla was waiting for her inside, waving cheerfully. Welcome, Manager Elaine, she said playfully. Elaine laughed, feeling the title settle over her like a soft, warm coat. Inside, the restaurant was still being finished, workers moving chairs, hanging light fixtures, polishing glass. But even unfinished, it felt magical. Kayla showed her around, introducing her to the new staff, a team that would now be under her guidance. You'll make the schedules, Kayla said. You'll hire. You'll train. And you'll decide how this place feels. Elaine took a deep breath. It was terrifying. And it was perfect. Later that afternoon, as Elaine sat in the empty dining room, reviewing the training materials they had prepared for her, the man, her new boss, came over carrying 2 coffees. He handed her one with a smile. You know, he said, settling into the chair across from her, when you fed me that day, you could have gotten fired. You risked everything for someone you thought had nothing to offer you. Elaine looked down at her coffee, feeling her cheeks warm. I didn't risk anything, she said. I just did what felt right. The man chuckled. That's exactly why you're here. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the golden afternoon light filling the room. Elaine looked around, amazed by how much had changed in just a single day. She thought about her mother, how she would be able to afford better medications now, maybe even hire someone to help care for her. She thought about all the cruel words she had endured from Mr. Leclerc, all the nights she had cried quietly, wondering if life would ever get better. And she thought about the simple truth that had carried her through it all. Kindness matters. It always matters, even when no one is looking. Opening day had finally arrived. Elaine stood near the entrance of Leclerc, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. The restaurant gleamed like a polished jewel, from the sparkling floors to the beautifully set tables adorned with fresh white lilies. The sign over the door, Leclerc, felt like a blessing itself. The heart. It was more than just a name. It was a promise. Staff buzzed around her, ready and excited. The new waiters, the smiling chefs, the hostess at the door, they all looked to Elaine now. She was the manager. This was her team. Her home. Kayla gave her a quick thumbs up from across the room, and Elaine smiled, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. Customers began arriving. Couples, families, groups of friends. All drawn in by the buzz about the beautiful new place opening in town. Elaine moved among them gracefully, greeting, checking on tables, lending a hand wherever needed. She wasn't just managing, she was leading, with kindness and attention that seemed to spread through the entire room. And the best part? Every smile she received felt real. Every thank you filled her heart a little more. By mid-afternoon, the restaurant was nearly full. Elaine was refilling a customer's water glass when the front door opened again. She glanced up automatically and froze. Standing awkwardly at the entrance was a familiar figure, Mr. Leclerc. His fancy suit was wrinkled. His once confident posture now seemed a little slouched. And behind his eyes was something Elaine had never seen before. Desperation. For a second, their eyes locked. Elaine quickly turned away, focusing on her customer. But Leclerc didn't leave. He hovered near the entrance, clearing his throat awkwardly. Finally, he approached. "Elaine," he said, voice low. I heard about this place. I didn't realize it was you running it." Elaine folded the napkins at her station carefully, taking her time before answering. "Yes," she said simply. Leclerc shifted from foot to foot. "Listen," he said, voice dropping even lower. "My restaurant, it's not doing well. The customers are all coming here now. I could use someone like you back on my team." Elaine straightened and met his gaze steadily. "Someone like me," she repeated softly. "You mean the person you shouted at? The one you forced to scrub toilets and treated like dirt?" Leclerc's face flushed red. "Look, I didn't mean." Elaine held up a hand, her voice calm and firm. "Mr. Leclerc, I wish you the best, but I've moved on, and I'm not looking back." For a moment, Leclerc just stood there, stunned. "You'll regret it," he muttered weakly. Elaine smiled, but not cruelly, just kindly, like she always had. "I don't think I will," she said. Without another word, Leclerc turned and walked out the door. This time, no angry barking, no threats. Just the quiet sound of a man realizing he had lost something he could never get back. That evening, after the rush had calmed, the man and Kayla joined Elaine at a small corner table. "You handled it very well," the man said, sipping his coffee. Elaine smiled thoughtfully. "Sometimes the best revenge is no revenge at all," she said. "Just living better." Kayla clapped her hands softly in approval. "Exactly," she said. "You didn't stoop to his level. You rose above it." Elaine looked around the restaurant, the laughing guests, the kind faces of her staff, and felt a deep, profound sense of peace. "I think," she said slowly, "that everything bad that happened led me here." The man nodded. "Sometimes we have to walk through storms," he said, "to appreciate the sunshine on the other side." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Elaine thought about her mother, how she would tell her tonight, with tears in her eyes and laughter on her lips, that they didn't have to worry about medications or bills anymore. She thought about all the small kindnesses she had offered others, even when she had little herself, and how, somehow, all that goodness had come back to her, multiplied in ways she never imagined. Later that night, as Elaine was locking up, she saw a few street dogs curled up nearby under a tree. She smiled and disappeared into the kitchen for a moment, returning with a small bag of leftovers. She set the food down carefully beside them, whispering softly, "Good things come back. You just have to believe." The dogs wagged their tails happily. As Elaine walked home under the stars, her heart felt fuller than any paycheck, fuller than any reward. She had found her place, her future, her proof that goodness mattered, even when the world tried to tell her otherwise. And deep down, she knew. This was just the beginning. Weeks passed, and Leclerc blossomed into the most beloved restaurant in the city. People came not just for the food, though the cuisine was exceptional, but for the feeling the place carried: warmth, kindness, dignity. It was a place where everyone, no matter how they looked or how much money they had, was treated with the same respect. And at the center of it all was Elaine. No longer the girl cleaning bathrooms in silence. No longer the girl invisible to the world. She was now a leader, one whose heart was woven into the very spirit of the restaurant. She trained her staff not just in service, but in humanity. "Remember," she often said with a smile, "every person who walks through that door has a story you can't see. Treat them kindly anyway." The team listened, not out of fear, but out of admiration. Elaine led with her example, not her authority. And slowly, Leclerc became a symbol in the community, a reminder that true success is measured by the lives you touch, not just the money you make. One sunny afternoon, Kayla and her brother gathered the entire staff in the main dining room. Elaine stood among them, curious, her hands clasped neatly in front of her. Kayla cleared her throat, a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "We have a little announcement to make," she said, grinning. Elaine smiled politely, unaware that the announcement was about her. "My brother and I," Kayla continued, "have decided to expand Leclerc, and we'll be opening 2 more locations in nearby cities." The staff clapped and cheered. And Kayla said, raising her hand for silence, "We'll need someone very special to oversee them. Someone who understands the heart of what we're building. Someone who's already proven that leadership isn't about power, it's about compassion." Elaine felt her heart skip a beat. "And that person," Kayla said, turning toward her, "is you, Elaine." For a moment, the world stood still. "You mean?" Elaine stammered, wide-eyed. Kayla nodded. "We'd like you to become our regional manager. You'll oversee all our restaurants in the region." The room erupted in applause. Elaine blinked back tears, laughing through her shock. "But I'm just—" "You're exactly who we need," Kayla said warmly. "And exactly who this world needs more of." Elaine covered her mouth, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for believing in me." "No, Elaine," the man said, smiling. "Thank you for believing in people, even when they looked like they had nothing to give." That evening, after the last table had been cleared and the restaurant lights dimmed to a cozy glow, Elaine sat alone by the window, watching the stars. She thought of her mother, how she would be able to move her into a better home now, with proper care and comfort. She thought of the stranger she had once helped, and how he had changed her life without her ever expecting it. And she thought of all the people who had passed by that day in La Belle Étoile, judging, whispering, looking away, never realizing they were missing something beautiful right in front of them. Kindness, she thought, is never wasted, even when it feels small, even when no one notices. Kindness has a way of circling back, like seeds carried by the wind, planting hope where you least expect it. Elaine closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer of thanks into the night. The next morning, a new customer arrived at Le Coeur. He was rough around the edges, clothes worn thin, face marked by life's hardships. Some of the newer waiters hesitated, unsure. But Elaine smiled, approached him with the same kindness she had once shown a stranger, and said, "Good morning, sir. Table for one." The man blinked in surprise, nodding slowly. Elaine led him to a table by the window, where the sunlight streamed in. No judgment, no pity, just simple human dignity. Because kindness, Elaine knew, wasn't just something you offered once. It was something you chose, every day, over and over again. And sometimes, when you least expected it, it changed everything.